And I just couldn't do it anymore. There was no amount of money that was going to make that worthwhile for me when we're being treated subhuman. And so I literally walked away from a third of our annual revenue and backlog.
Wow.
Without any promise or hope that it was going to be replenished, other than my faith, which I do have a very strong faith. And I knew it was the right thing. And that, I think my takeaway is when you do the right thing for the right reasons, it always works out. It may not look the way that you think it's going to look,
right,
but it's always going to work out.
Let's repeat the non-conformist oath. I promise to be different. I promise to be unique. I promise not to repeat things other people say.
And we're back. Fitz is back with Positive Blatherings. And it's called Positive Blatherings because I go in here with very little prep. And I really just want to have a conversation with my guest and see where it goes, see where the conversation goes. And this guest I have known for quite some time. One person I've known professionally, probably almost longer than anyone else in this town. And that is Melissa Suchodolski. Yeah?
Hi.
Did I say it right?
You did it. Congratulations.
I try. So yeah, you are, we worked together, I want to say 2008, 2009-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
And up until prior to that, I worked with a couple of people, but I just moved up in 2007. So I really hadn't so you're like one of the first professional relationships that I made in this town. And here we are many years later. I mean, that's...
Well, and I think the significance of that project too for us, like we weren't just working together. We were sitting in a room as part of the Jewish Home of Rochester, and we were recording living histories for some of the most incredible stakeholders and, historic families in Rochester's history. And it was profound. I just remember sitting in the room with you, we were both jaws dropped, listening to, the Glazier history and all the amazing experiences. So it was profound.
Yeah. And the profundity of that experience continues to this day because it's one of the things that drove me to start the studio, to start wanting to do legacy casts where we bring in people to talk about their lives for posterity and, a quality recording. Yeah. And you may laugh or maybe you won't, but part of me was really actively looking into possibly converting to Judaism after that, because I was just so fascinated by the history and by the culture. I had many dreams that were, and I actually called, or I emailed the author, what was his name? Dobsky or...
Yeah.
He was a professor at a college. Yeah. And back then I had this really weird dream and I emailed him and I said, "What is this dream?" And he told me what the dream meant. And it had significant Judaic, it was like you dreamt of Purim. I'm like, "What is Purim?" I have no idea what Purim is.
Wow.
And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What you dreamt is this is what we do," and da 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 da. And I was like, "What?" It was just it was the strangest thing. And so from that time, one of the things that I've been, for lack of a better word, really obsessed with is learning as much about the Holocaust as I can. Especially nowadays, with how things are going in the world, But so that history, I can't get enough of it.
I agree, 100%. I'm a history major, so I have that kind of baked into me.
Yeah.
But it's not just history; it's the living story of history. And so that project was a dream project, and that and I agree with you. It's profoundly impactful. I think because it felt like in that culture of the individuals we interviewed, their faith was so much a part of the fabric of their being, and it's not a separate practice. It's infused in everything that they do, and it's historic culture, it's ancient culture, it's modern culture, it's all the cultures that kind of just blend together so beautifully. So I can definitely understand the appeal there. Yeah,
it was just one of those things that I even years later, I still go back, and I mean, you ask my family, anything that I watch is based on in the World War II era, in that time. I'm fascinated by Poland and the history of Poland and all the.
Have you been to Poland?
I have not been to Poland.
Okay, so at some point you're going to need to go to the Warsaw. There's a Warsaw Museum. It's it's called the Uprising.
Yeah,
and it is so powerful. I spent like half a day there. I think you could spend days there, reading every single story, because it's like 4 stories, a 4-story building, but every floor, every nook and cranny has a different personal story. Like things like how the Boy Scouts, helped in the war effort, and it's profound.
Interesting.
It's profound. Yeah.
Yeah, and that country, we don't learn much about Eastern Europe at all growing up, in the United States. I mean, just the simple stuff, and when it was the 80s when I was learning that, so it was different. It was back, after the Iron Curtain, or before the Iron Curtain was lifted. But the history of that area is always fascinating to me because of the constant border disputes and the friction between the Polish and the Ukrainian and the Russian and all the various, factions and communities that live there. It's just, you could never learn all there is to know about it.
No, and we take it for granted because we are kind of in a landlocked state of being in the United States, and we don't understand the true nuance and the pains of those experiences. So my husband's Polish, born and raised in Poland, came here when he was 15. And prior to meeting him, I'd never been to Europe. So my very first experience going to Europe was going to Poland.
Oh, wow. And from the, going with someone who is from there is a completely different experience than if you're just going as a tourist.
Yes. And his parents, it's a fascinating story. They came here, they got the call. His father was telling him about the opportunity to become American, to come to the United States. At dinner, they made the decision. They abandoned their professional careers and came and started over with very modest, start. And his parents, after 30 years of living in the United States, just moved back to Poland. And so we go there every year. And every year I go, I get to see a different aspect of it. But the culture and the people and the heritage is just it's so powerful. It just feels like sovereignty. I don't know how to say it any other way. But to your point, like his father was born in a part of, at that time, Poland is now the Ukraine. And so speaks Ukrainian and fluently, and like just how that, the fluidity of the cultures around the border territories is pretty profound.
Where in Poland? Where was he?
That's a great question. I couldn't tell you, honestly. I should know this, so failure on me. But I will learn. I will learn.
I would not call that a failure.
Yeah.
And even if you did know, to be able to recite the actual name would be.
I would say it wrong. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure of that.
So going back to there's an area in what's now in Ukraine called Lviv that had a lot of different name changes over the years. Lvov, and it was Lemberg during the German occupation, and that it was Poland, and then it was Ukraine, and then it was all back and forth and stuff like that. And I found this book about 10 years ago called East-West Street, and it's East-West Street on the origins of crimes against humanity and genocide. And basically, it's a story about a guy who is a barrister in London, and he also works for the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and so he's like into that, into the international laws and things like that. And his family is from Lvov and the surrounding areas, and the two people who came up with the concept of genocide and crimes against humanity are from that area too, where his family is from. So the book kind of talks like he's looking into the history of his grandfather, because his grandfather never said anything about those times. And then he goes through and it's just a fascinating book. And so that book really like sort of catalyzed my interest in it. So one day I have this travel bucket list.
Nice.
That really, it starts me in France and it goes all throughout, and
wow.
But
we'll have to coordinate it. We know some folks. So we might be able to hook you up there. And his parents actually still live there and have a beautiful home. And it's just an hour of Warsaw. And it's great because with a rental car, you can just travel so easily and beautifully. And there's so much history and culture there. And, you walk into churches and you walk into literally castles from, the 14th century. And it's just like, okay. So it's a different, and having never been to Europe, I feel like I've been like blindfolded most of my life in the sense of not really truly recognizing the impact of history. And
I would say that's an accurate, that's kind of like this whole country is like, just because we're so far away from all of that and this country is so big. So like all of our states are kind of similar to all of the countries in Europe where people travel freely for the most part between all those countries, and why so many people speak multiple languages and, understand.
We're so limited in that way. Right?
Understand multiple types of cultures and are a little bit more tolerant of other cultures that they don't understand.
Yeah.
I've always believed that people should be traveling abroad more.
Huge.
Obviously, it's not.
And people make it sound like it's a privilege, and it is a privilege, but it's almost like it's so much more than that. It should be essential. It should be a requirement of living that you have to travel, because your perspective instantly changes, and your sense of what is important and what is not in recognizing like true ancient cultures, and it just gives you so much different perspective. And I think we take ourselves way too seriously, right? Like we think we're the center of the universe in the United States, and it's great. We're world power, but there's been a lot of things that have lived a hell of a lot longer than we have. And we don't appreciate that. Then we're limited.
And I think about, all right, so you were a history major, which is something I didn't know, which is very interesting, which now I understand why I like you.
So, just that reason, huh? They just figured it out, the one.
I was like, oh, okay, now it clicked. Why. So so you are the president of USC Builds. Yeah. Fantastic company who's done some work here in the other studio, did a fantastic job, did some stuff at my house. I mean, you guys do great work. And it's a really, really incredible company that you have been building all this time. And
25 years.
25 years. Congratulations.
I was like 2. I mean, what did I know?
I was going to say, how did you inherit it? And I have to tell you that being a small business owner, I've always looked up to you. When I learned, I didn't even know that that's what you did. I thought you were a producer or something,
Wow. I fooled you. Huh?
Yeah. And then I found out after I got to know you, and I was like, oh, okay, you got this. And it still didn't click. I'm like, that doesn't compute. I don't get it. So I'm really interested in the dichotomy between the history major, Melissa, and the USC Builds president of, a profitable contracting company.
Interesting. Yeah. It was a windy road for sure. So,
I'm sure.
I actually went to Geneseo, history major, looking for certification to teach secondary ed. And my whole family are educators, principals, administrators. So it's like the family business kind of thing, So got all the way up to student teaching, and I felt like a part of my soul was dying. I loved teaching. I loved the preparation of lesson planning. I loved being able to help someone see a new truth or a new experience, and I loved that part of it. The administration part of it?
Yeah.
Not for me. I just don't operate in bureaucracies well.
Yeah.
So it was very limited interest there. So went more towards business. And then my now ex-husband had been in construction, and he had a non-compete through the sale of a business that he, had a 5-year term he had to wait out. So he went to hospitality, which after college, I went towards restaurants and hospitality because you could make a great living bartending, and I loved human stories.
Sure.
So getting to talk to people at a bar was pretty fantastic way to earn a living. And so fast forward, got involved in corporate training, and then I really recognized my passion around process creation and standardization, operating systems and things. So his non-compete was up. He was going back and started a very small contracting firm that just exclusively did retail fit outs and like specialty ceilings. And one of his clients said, well, Melissa's Jamaican and she's a woman. There's a lot of really great incentives for women in construction in New York. And he said it to me, and I said, that's absurd. I know nothing about construction. I have no interest in construction. But leaned in because, why not? If there's an market opportunity, I want to be aware of that and kind of explore that. So started doing blueprint classes and things, and at that time, technology was coming in the sense of being able to do digital takeoffs and do estimating digitally and with technology, and that was very appealing to me. So I kind of rode that wave into the industry and recognized I was really good at estimating. And, very, very long story shorter, what I found was my true passion was around helping people find skilled trades pathways to construction. So the ability to take someone who has zero skills, someone who basically isn't given or afforded a lot of opportunities in life, to be able to take that person and help build within them their own perception of what is possible and give them a skilled trade and watch the blossoming that occurs within that human being when that happens is profound. And I was hooked. And so my entire business, yes, we do construction, but we build people most importantly. And construction is a platform that allows us to do that, because once you have a skilled trade, like this is what COVID taught me, we are always essential. Skilled trades are always essential. And the world can literally shut down where, lawyers were cloistered and not practicing, and, judges had to figure out how to operate, and doctors were struggling, more than most. And at the same time, we were deemed essential and able to work, and it was really important for the economy that we did. So when you teach someone and give them a skilled trade, you are giving them a different sense of personal security and self-assurance that is very difficult and cannot be taken away. So that individual that learns that skill can go anywhere in the world and be deemed essential. And so what that does for self-worth development is profound. And so that's been my life's work, is finding those individuals and providing opportunities for those in the community that most don't want to even talk to.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's been a wild ride, and I have such amazing, going back to the human stories, the stories of individuals that came unskilled, now are serving in executive capacities within the organization and helping others because, representation matters. And I started, you can do it too, right? And it's been wild.
And I think about, I've heard, on you being on various podcasts recorded here, and I've heard people talk about the culture at your company. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what that meant. I assumed that it meant, it was a good culture, that it was a positive culture. But this now, as you explain all this, it makes perfect sense because, and interestingly, because you talk about how you were going into education and you didn't like the bureaucracy. And, when you think of bureaucracy, easy to say. You think about companies and you think about corporations and you think about all that stuff, and you're doing that, but you're doing that in a way that you like, which obviously is
the
not
stripped back version of that, right?
It's not a typical approach to that, to running a business.
Yeah.
So
no, it's been very much kind of an upside down model in the sense that it starts with the people and it builds from there. And I think that, what resonates with people is there's a why there, that when you have, even if you don't buy into the culture, but you witness the transformation that occurs in human beings, you believe it, because it's, seeing is believing, and you're experiencing it firsthand. And I think when you're anchored in that type of why, it makes all the nonsense completely worth it. Completely worth it.
All the nonsense.
And there's so much nonsense, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Just we operate with humans. We all have our challenges and our limitations. And I think what's unique about our culture is the recognition that, because we had to adapt almost like a trauma-informed approach as an employer, which was a very, at the time, really advanced, and it was before we had done that, because we're serving priority populations that have, housing insecurity and food insecurity, and sometimes been survivors of abuse, or if just been disenfranchised. They come with a certain level of skepticism and distrust, and you have to build that trust. And then you have to be able to serve them at the most basic elements of life, just so they can learn, just so they can gain the skill. And so we really had to change how we operate. Like, oh, you have to get your kids on the bus, so you're late to work every day. Rather than looking at that as a behavioral issue, like you're getting written up 5 times because you can't show up for work on time. It's peeling back to the why. Why are you not getting to work on time? What's going on there? And then finding out, oh, you're the only one in your family that can get your children on the bus. Wow. Okay, why don't we just adjust your start time? Mm-hmm. So you can get to work on time, and you're not carrying the shame of being late to work every day because you're just doing a basic thing, which is getting your children safely on a bus. Like, we can adapt to that. And I think the cultures that can do it at that level, I think, are profoundly, like, light years ahead in building trust and rapport with people and creating a culture that's meaningful.
Agree, 100%. And that's it. I've brought this up on many a podcast, talking about my first professional job, and I worked for a major cruise line down in Miami, and it was a cruise company, and we were a video production unit inside the cruise company, so we were not part of the usual, what they were doing, so we were kind of like
on the fringe of it.
On the fringe,
yeah.
and an afterthought in a lot of ways. And the experiences that I had in that department are what drive me here, and how I deal with my staff. I think of how it was there, and then I do the opposite.
Yeah.
Because it was so bad. I found out later, many years later, and I haven't worked for them in a long time. And I found out later that I had a professional PTSD from that job.
Yeah.
Because
That's so true.
Because of how I was pushed, and how I was treated, and how I was expected to sacrifice all, to get to where we wanted to go, and it was just so backwards.
It's so funny you say that, because we have a policy. That was my experience as well, as recognizing people are coming to us. They're like the walking wounded, and it's really important that when you go from an unhealthy culture to a healthy culture, that you're allowed to shed that skin. It's almost like you're shedding that outer layer.
Yeah.
And so when people transition in with intentionality, I sit with them and say, it's going to be slow for a while as you transition in. I don't want you to be alarmed. This is how it goes. But it's really important that you immerse yourself in what is here, recognize what is unique and different, and you have to make the decision to leave your past behind you, because we don't allow that to come in here. And so there's going to be a little buffer. There's going to be a little guardrails where we're going to remind you of some things, or we might have to do some course correction. That's normal. That's healthy. But we're going to hold the line. We're going to hold the boundary on what is healthy, and we're not going to let that in. So in the past, did you feel like you had to be competitive at work? We don't operate that way. We're collaborative. Did you feel as though you were being judged because you were different then? We actually celebrate and elevate that. And it's going to feel very different at first, but trust me, with time, you'll recognize it's a much better way. And it's uncanny, the amount of, the number of people that go through that process, fully recognizing with new awareness how traumatized they were from their past environment. And when they are able to shed that, it actually transforms not just their professional life, it's their personal life, like your family. The stress that you bring home at work every day and bring to your family is hugely impactful. And also, just when you think about the amount of time you spend at work, you spend probably more time at work with your peers than you do with your family. Right. So who you break bread with in a professional sense is really important to your overall life outlook as well.
So I can imagine. Now, I come from a construction background. My father was a general contractor. My brother is a general contractor.
Special kind of crazy, I say.
My other brother is a painting contractor. I have uncles that are contractors. So that's I come from that family. Yeah. And they specifically kept me out of it. They didn't want me to which I laugh at now because I'm like, my brother down in Fort Lauderdale is negotiating the sale of his company and he's going to retire. And I'm like, and you kept me out of this? Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
But at the time, this was in the late 80s or whatever, they were like, this business is too hard. We want better for you. Yeah. We want you to go to college and get a good job and that kind of thing, which I understand, and I don't fault them for that. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I in retrospect, but you could never tell. You're not going to know how things are going to change. No. So they were doing it.
But I also sense there was a great awareness of your creativity, Scott. So I can imagine. How would you, it's not just about the industry, it's how would you sacrifice in the industry?
Yeah, and how would I operate in that, being so creative and things like that. Yeah. And I want to go back to when you first came up with this culture, this way of doing things at the company. Was it like a complete whoa, shocker because I mean, it is what it is. It's a very man-dominated industry, and I can see guys going, saying, "Oh, come on, give me that bleeding heart shit." Suck it up, come to work, do this, do that, and if you don't, you're out, and that kind of thing. And you're turning that on its head completely. What was that like when you first started that out?
So I think it started as a slow trickle, and then I recognized the impact. But I also, yes, there is a social impact mission first and always, but there's also a really good business case for it in the sense that all the projects we were performing on had public subsidies that required minority women businesses. And also they evaluated the workforce and they wanted to see diversity in the workforce. And because we were unique, there were very few firms, and still are, unfortunately, that were minority women owned that could perform at a commercial higher level.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes how we organically grew our service capability was our clients saying to us, well, what else can you do? Because I have these goals to meet and I can't do it. There's no one that can do this. And so that's how we expanded into, wood framing, metal framing, insulation, all the things. And then from a workforce perspective, our clients also recognized, wow, you guys have a lot of diversity in your company. And we have diversity goals. And so, unfortunately, we're often the only company bringing the diversity to the table, quite literally. And so there's, on one hand, there's a recognition and a respect because you're helping me solve a problem. But we were also, the double-edged side of the knife is we were not working within work cultures, meaning job site cultures, that really respected diversity. So we are often the ones experiencing being blamed for things that are going wrong on the site. We're seeing racial epithets like on the walls. Our people are harassed differently. And so it's this constant state of vigilance that we have to safeguard our people against, to the point where, honestly, last year we fired our second largest client because continually I felt as though I'm doing all of this work to build humans, build whole people, and help them see the best in themselves. And then we're doing all of that work, the person involved, because it's a partnership. And then I'm putting them in a harmful culture on a job site, which completely, not only does it undermine what we're doing, because they are now more vulnerable because of working with my company in a safe way, they're more at risk being vulnerable in an unsafe place. And I just couldn't do it anymore. There was no amount of money that was going to make that worthwhile for me when we're being treated subhuman. And so I literally walked away from a third of our annual revenue and backlog.
Wow.
Without any promise or hope that it was going to be replenished, other than my faith, which I do have a very strong faith. And I knew it was the right thing. And that, I think my takeaway is when you do the right thing for the right reasons, it always works out. It may not look the way that you think it's going to look,
right?
But it's always going to work out. And we have not skipped a beat. We have replaced all that and then some. And when we made that shift, we had an annual meeting, and I explained the shift because it could be turbulent, but you need to know why we made the decision. It wasn't a reckless decision. It's a decision with intention. And we know our value, and we know what our standards are, and we're not going to cater to that. And we wish that client well. I don't know how that's going to fare for them because we were providing a very valuable service. It may not have been appreciated or recognized at the time, but it will be. It will be.
That's amazing. And very ballsy. Like I love the fact that you put your principles before the profit. I mean,
you should have heard this particular the CEO of that company when I told him, because the promise was, well, we got all the work.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to suck it up. We have all the work. And I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I have a choice. My choice is going to be different. And the shock of that, like,
sure,
the horror. How dare you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Total pearl clutching moment.
Oh yeah, totally pearl clutching moment. But it's, if people don't, it's a personal and a professional kind of lesson learned there, right? Like, when you know your worth, when you know your value, and you are in a position where people are taking advantage of that or continually violating your boundaries and your respect, then what choice do you have? I mean, otherwise you're self-sacrificing. You're going to just diminish everything, and you'll shrink to nothing in that, and you'll be miserable. Life's too short. So yeah, it's diversity is still a challenge in the industry. But the other thing I'll say is we're also finding a time where, because of the extreme labor shortages, we're about 600,000 people light in the construction industry, and we have $1.2 trillion of projects in the pipeline nationally in the next 5 years. So we have a huge crisis of lack of skilled people. And what's happening is, because we had already done the pre-work in developing populations that others didn't care about, we are now also have an additional competitive advantage in the sense that we've already done that groundwork. We're already foundationally, 2 steps ahead of some of our competitors that are just now raising their gaze to say, oh, we don't have people. We have to think differently about our approach to how we find people and how we keep people. So I think it will pay off in a lot of ways, not just the paychecks of the heart that I talk about, but also the competitive advantage as well.
That's awesome to have that sort of that double win there, where, hey, we're paying our bills and we're making money, and look at the people we're affecting, and we're, I mean, that's just. And
we are the United Nations. We have, and I hate, in case ICE is listening, we have 8 Afghani refugees that work with us. We have pockets of individuals that have, I have actually 9 individuals that gain citizenship through working that we help sponsor through that process. We have individuals that, I think 7 individuals that have gone through first-time homebuyer programs, the stories of people that are sending their kids, the first to go to college in their entire lineage. And it's those are the things that I measure impact by. And I feel like if you do it for the right reasons, the financial payouts, if they come, great, but that's not why we're doing it. And that way we're grounded in the real purpose of it. And that's important.
And your business is still kind of feels like a family business. It feels like a mom and pop, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I will tell you, we've had to standardize some things. We're up to 140 people now. I had to get an HR person because we can't be doing things the way that we used to do things. Times have changed. So, but because we've started to standardize process and things, we do have some folks that have been with us for 15 plus years who are like, yeah, but remember when back in the day we did it this way. And so there is, change management is a thing. And there are some people that lament the standardization of process, but it is necessary when you're scaling and growing. But it's as much to protect their interests as it is to, protect the companies. So, change is hard.
It is hard. It's definitely hard.
But really wanting to maintain, to your point, that family atmosphere, the ability for me to, I had a young lady, send me a text message. I'm going to send you a doctor's note. And typically that's like a work restriction or whatever. And, she's letting me know she's pregnant. It was like, so cool.
Yeah.
So I get to celebrate with her in a text message. And I mean, how many corporations is that happening with?
Right.
So it is
the opposite. It would be like, oh, I got to tell them this. And then what are they going to do? How are they going to treat me after? Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. We have 20, for the first time in our history, we have 22 field skilled women. And our very first 4-person, a woman who is managing projects now and in the skilled like field leadership way. That's 25 years in the making. It's just happening now. So it's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. Now, so let's say you say that there's a crisis, right? That there's not enough people in the workforce. Someone they decide they want to come work for you and they have 0 skills.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so we just actually started a nonprofit last year called Ascend Workforce Solutions. And back in 2018, we created our own internal academy, which with the thought was to teach hard skills to people. And then what we recognized was there were some barriers to even their ability to learn hard skills. So we had to worry about things like financial literacy, improving their credit score so they could have reliable transportation and doing all of those things. So we developed curriculum that literally takes an individual with 0 skills. We created it used to be and still is, I think, in most companies, a laboring position, a laborer, which is meant to be an entry-level position. And some companies, laborers, that's their permanent position for their entire career path. And that's great if that's what folks want to do. For us, we changed the name from laborer to site coordinator, because we wanted there to be dignity associated with the title and with the effort. And the purpose of the site coordinator, yes, there's some laboring involved, but it's to give them proximity to all the different things that we do. So they're working directly with our field leadership teams, and they're supporting the project, they're coordinating the project along with field leadership. And so that is meant to be an entry level, but it's a temporary position. So we do a 90-day check-in process, and at 90 days, you've had some time to kind of look and see what's happening. You understand the job sites and the flow, and you've probably gained an awareness of a specific trade that you want to, start with. So in 90 days, we're sitting down and you're identifying what skill you want to focus on. And then we do what's called a job map. And my HR director is from the Marines. He's served 4 tours and so grateful for his service. And now that service is inward, and he's developed basically a career pathing plan where every individual gets to map out their goals and objectives. And it's an annual update, and that's how we're doing the review process. And we're really tracking your learnings and your growth throughout a particular year. So when you've identified a skill, we're doing some assessments to determine what your skill level actually is and what you need to learn. And your career training is geared towards the role that you desire to have. And it's a very specific process. And then at the end of that training, you have that position. And so that's how you kind of go up the career ladder. So the nonprofit is basically taking everything that we've done within our company, and we're bringing it to the broader industry. And we are also embedding it in real estate development projects as a workforce training center that's meant to catalyze large revitalization projects, with the thought that if we can reach into a community that we're revitalizing and help individuals learn skills, they can actually participate in building their communities. And it's been really, really meaningful. So we're doing things like for Habitat for Humanity, we're panelizing garages as part of the Buy the Block Phase 2 project in Rochester. And so it's the ability for unskilled people to learn enough skills to panelize a garage and then be able to erect that garage directly in their neighborhood, and then have the sense of pride of ownership of I did that. Because that's actually one of the greatest things of our industry is the ability to ride around the city and say, I built that, I built that, I built that, I built that. And to do that with your family in the car, there's no greater moment.
I remember that as a kid. I remember driving around saying, my dad built that building and they did that and stuff like that. I'm just curious, how do you sleep at night?
Who sleep?
Well,
I sleep very soundly. Actually,
I bet. Kind of joking.
It's a big team effort. We have a large executive leadership team, probably larger than most firms, but it's because it's like there is dimensionality to our growth plans. It's like, yes, we're going to get more revenue this year, but when we do that, we're also building out a whole workforce development platform, which has now been recognized by Governor Hochul to be a playbook for the entire state. So what we're doing in that, it's a place-based workforce development initiative. It's starting in Ithaca at our Southworks development, and the lessons learned from that are going to inform other revitalization projects around the state. And so I have built a really powerful team, and they have informed and built me as much as I've built them. But it's because we've got a pretty deep and big vision, and it takes a village. For sure.
Wow. First of all, I'm excited. I would be excited to work for you. Like, I'm excited for the people who are going to work for you, because having that pipeline and knowing that, because I remember what it felt like, because whenever I would, work for my brother or my dad, that's what I was, the laborer. That's what I did, because I didn't know how to do anything. So I was sweeping up, I was digging, I was doing all that kind of stuff. For years, I did that.
Yeah.
And and very few people actually aspire to stay there.
Yeah.
They want to move on, and to know that is, it's not just an if, it's a when.
Yeah.
It's, you're going to start doing this, and then you're going to learn something, and then you're going to move on. You're going to better yourself. You're going to have that pride. I mean, even changing the name of it from laborer to site coordinator. I mean, it seems simple, but it's so crucial.
Yeah. And laboring is really, really important. I think, number one, it grounds you in a sense of purpose and humility of we have to figure that we have to learn some things. And right now I don't know anything. And it's really important that I show up every day and I invest in my own development. And that's critically important. And you'd be amazed at how many people, given, all of that opportunity, some people are paralyzed by that. I mean, if you have no sense of self-worth and you've been in a traumatic environment, opportunity is the scariest thing to ever come your way. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you are distrustful of that. And so a lot of our work is really around overcoming individuals' limiting beliefs and being able to, get them to grab the brass ring, because we can't do it for them. And that's really important too, because there's a lot of programs in the community that want to give everything to everyone. People have to earn it. That's as much about self-respect building as it's essential. There has to be skin in the game for those individuals, and they have to demonstrate it. And sometimes we, part ways with folks because they don't have a growth mindset and they're not willing to do the work and they're not willing to adapt and change. And that's okay. We're an important part of their journey, but we are not necessarily their destination. And so it's just about being a part of their journey and releasing that when it's not meant to be.
Are you sure you don't have a PhD in like 50 different things? I
have a PhD in painful living. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and so I think that has become my superpower. And I speak from my own experience, and I think it allows me also to connect with others at such a deep level, and to be able to walk in a room and recognize trauma when I see it, and to be able to connect on that human level.
It is most definitely a superpower, and it's so important to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I've been given a lot of grace in my life, and there's been so many people that have sown into me and helped me get to where I am. And so that is my purpose, is to do the same for others and make sure that we're all kind of building each other as we go. So.
Well, you have definitely, I don't know how to say it, you've done it right. From what I can see, there's a lot of people who would not have gone the route that you've gone. It was just a really incredible learning experience today to sit with you and learn about well, first of all, I didn't even know you were Jamaican.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, man.
Were you born in Jamaica?
My dad was born in Jamaica. He was born in Kingston. Yep. And
big city.
Big city. Came to this country with $16 in his pocket. So my entrepreneurial spirit definitely was a gift from him.
Yeah. Well, I excuse me. I had a plan about doing like a this or that.
I love it.
And I couldn't decide which ones to do. So I'm just gonna throw some things out there. And these are totally random. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
NSYNC.
Armageddon or Deep Impact?
I'm assuming those are movies.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, what kind of... No, never mind. I'm going to go with Armageddon.
Okay, just because those are two movies.
Isn't that the Steve Perry... not Steve Perry, Tyler. Steve Tyler, isn't Armageddon have the...
The song.
Yeah, okay.
And his daughter's in it.
That's why I'll pick that one.
Yeah. That was one of those things that happens a lot, where two studios come out with almost identical movies, and then you have two camps on who likes what.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So I have to say on the movie front, the reason I didn't know those movies is because I'm an empath. I have to be very careful at what I watch.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel all the things.
Yeah.
And it overwhelms me. And so I'm usually like the drooling Disney movie girl at the end of the week. Like,
I'm the same way with movies.
Yeah.
I cry very easily at movies, so I can
I'll know in
understand
5 seconds, and like it'll be like credits rolling 5 seconds. And I'm like, nope, can't do this one. My poor husband never gets to watch the movies.
My wife is the same way. Yeah. Kelly will say that all the time. I'm like, oh, we got to watch this movie. She's like, is it sad? I'm like, it might be a little. Nope. Let's see, Michael Jackson or Prince?
Oh Lord. Oh, it's really hard. They're both my heroes. I'm going to go with Prince.
Love it. He's one of the greatest guitar players to ever walk the face of this earth, and nobody realizes.
See the While My Guitar Gently Weeps?
I know.
Tom Petty, like
I share it 3 or 4 times a year on social media because it makes its way around. I'm like, oh, you got to watch this.
It's so good. But the best part of that is the guitar throw at the end when he just peace out. Like, such a diva.
And it was so effortless.
Yeah.
He was just.
He was a profound genius, and I think that was also led to his demise. I think, when you have that level of creative genius, like, where do you put it? He had vaults of music. Like, he could release a new song every day for hundreds of years and never play the same twice.
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Yeah, I know. It's always the geniuses of the world that are not here long enough.
Tormented souls. Yeah.
This one's terrible. David Hasselhoff or Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, I think it's actually fabulous. I'm going for a Hasselhoff.
Oh, the Hoff.
I love the Hoff. And I feel like, anybody that can become a cult classic in Germany deserves the utmost respect.
Agreed. This one I don't understand where this gets. So thank you, ChatGPT. Mr. Rogers or Jerry Springer?
Oh, wow. I don't know. That Lady Elaine puppet really freaks me right the hell out. So I'm going to go with Jerry Springer.
All right.
I think he was onto something.
Okay. All right.
I like the messiness of life. So
let's see. Seinfeld or Friends?
Seinfeld. Larry David for the win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So then in that respect, The Simpsons or South Park? Or we can do this or that. The Simpsons, South Park, or Family Guy.
Oh, Family Guy. Absolutely. Stewie all day.
Yeah.
I named my dog Stewart after Stewie.
Oh, you did? That's interesting.
So I'm pretty sure this dog, when he was born, he was trying to kill me. So I was like, I'm going to be sleeping with one eye open. But
our dog, our dog previous to this dog, we named Dexter after the show, after the serial killer. Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. Going back a bit, Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor?
Oh my gosh.
That's a tough one.
Wait, early Eddie Murphy or now Eddie Murphy?
Well, not now Eddie Murphy.
Okay. Like Delirious.
Like Raw, Delirious, Trading Places Eddie Murphy.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Isn't it though?
I'm gonna go with Richard Pryor because I'm pretty sure he was like foundational.
Yeah.
Like he was foundational Eddie.
Seriously. So. Bill Murray or Chevy Chase?
Oh. Gosh, these are so hard. I'm going with Chevy Chase. Oh. Physical comedy is.
Quick story about Chevy Chase. When we first moved down to Florida in 78, 79, my mom started working at Rolling Hills Country Club or Rolling Hills Golf Club in Davie, Florida, which is where they shot Caddyshack.
Yeah.
And so they were just finishing that up when she started working there, and she met Chevy Chase. He came into the restaurant and she was like, oh, Mr. Chase, my sons are huge fans. Would you mind if I got an autograph? And he just was like, fuck, damn it. Why can't I can't even get a freaking French toast without, and it was like,
I changed. Bill Murray.
No, I can't change it.
I want Bill Murray.
Okay.
I don't like
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's enough of that. I was just like,
hard choices.
They were, and I like where your head's at with those, especially with the Family Guy thing. Even though like each one of them has their own.
Oh yeah, there's special stuff. And I do feel with Family Guy, like if it weren't for The Simpsons, like that, you know what I mean? Like they all are really informative. So.
Yeah.
hard to pick.
And the Simpsons keep predicting everything. It's very strange.
It's so creepy.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also, make sure you check out Journey to Radiance,
Yes.
Melissa's podcast with Joe and Alana. And I have to say,
All in the production. That's all I can tell you.
it has nothing to do with the production. It has everything to do with the content. And what you talked about in this episode really comes out, like your path to education that you talk about really comes out in that podcast, because each episode is like a lesson plan. For becoming a better you, and it's just it really is
observation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming here.
My pleasure.
USCbuilds.com is at the
USCbuilds.com.
Yeah, and I wish you continued success with all of the nonprofit and the things that you're working on.
Thank you so much.
You continue to be an inspiration to me. I look up to you a lot. In a business sense and in a personal sense. Getting choked up a bit. So I appreciate that. And it's been...
I'm so proud of your success.
Thank you.
This is such a dream come true. You know, seeing your... You know what? You're living it. You're doing it, and you're helping other people find their voices as well, and that's really important. So thank you for elevating the human story.
Stories. We like those stories.
We do.
All right. Thank you so much. See you next time.
.com.